What's up, guys? Z Panther here with UDM.
Hello.
We're going over Yak's Draft League. We both participated in, and season's about to go underway. But we're just gonna go over our teams and why we picked who we picked. Um, we'll go over the other teams too briefly. See who we're most nervous about playing. So, why was T-Tar your first pick?
Tyranitar was my first pick. Well, I wasn't really thinking, I just kind of read someone in chat saying I'd go Tyranitar first pick. I wasn't really thinking, so I had, Tyranitar first pick, but it's Tyranitar, so it's
Yeah.
never going to be a bad pick.
Yeah, of course. Plus you have sand and you picked up Smeargle, so you got spikes there.
Yeah.
It's always a good pick and draft.
Also, sorry.
I decided to go the Snorlax route. I was kind of thinking like most teams I'm not gonna play are gonna have sand or aren't gonna have sand. So this is kind of Lax's moment in the sun, really. So I kind of went all in on trying to enable Lax. You have more of like a hyper offense kind of thing going on for the most part, seems like. Which is definitely cool in draft because damage is key, especially because you have sand. So your damage is always going to stick.
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. It's like sand spikes, then you just have enough heavy hitters to hopefully wear the opponent down. It isn't devoid of defensive utility. Tyranitar inherently just has good defensive utility by well, its rock typing does give it a few key resistances, but just its stats being well, above the base 100, 100, 100 benchmark by a bit. Its defense being 110 also does help with that. Being bulkier than things like Celebi, Jirachi, well, Jirachi isn't in draft, but just in general, it's a good benchmark to have.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of my thinking for my second pick as well. So I picked Dragonite, and I was thinking, well, I want a fighting resist. I want something that's gonna do well with Lax anyway, and Dragonite has Heal Bell, so Curse Lax obviously runs Rest. And like you're saying, it's a pseudo, just like Tyranitar, so the stats are high. Its defensive typing is pretty good. I mean, resisting fire, grass, and water is really nice. So yeah, and then for your second pick, you went also with a dragon type, of course. A little bit different though. Flygon's more of a rock resist, but equally pretty high stats, good defensive typing.
Yeah, Flygon is good for just, well, for one, I kind of just wanted, especially since playing more ADVOU than draft, I wanted a good rock resist. I know you think it's not as important, which you may be right on that. But it's
Yeah,
not just a good rock resist. It's a spikes immunity, it's a ground immunity, and it's also very potent offensively. Okay, at least for something with its longevity and defensive utility.
yeah,
Base 100
definitely.
EQ is deceptively strong.
And its speed tier is good too. I mean, and it's like it's not like that you don't need a rock resistant draft because I had made that point to him when we were drafting and we were just kind of like spitballing about who we are gonna pick. It's just that since you're not gonna run into T-Tar pretty much every game like you would in normal OU, and like chances are most teams or most people aren't gonna be able to pair T-Tar and Arrow together. You can kind of like play around that a little bit more than you normally could.
Yeah, for the most part. And not to mention, you know exactly what's coming. Like, you
Yeah.
know there will 100% be a Tyranitar, or there will be an Aerodactyl.
Yeah, exactly.
There won't. So,
So your third pick, you went with Jolteon. Definitely been paired with T-Tar on many Spikes teams. Um, Not the most conventional next to Flygon, but I mean it definitely kind of like gives you a Spadef option. It's gonna take HP Ices pretty much no problem aimed at Flygon or whatever. And definitely
yeah.
helps with Flygon's Gengar weakness.
Also, kind of helps a lot with, say, for example, Raikou is a very threatening Pokemon in draft in general. Or Jolteon can put a stop to that, especially.
Yeah, yeah. I
Is
mean,
that's
Roar.
like its best draw, to be honest.
I think too, since you're not really going to be running into Doug, things like Wish become like super viable on Jolteon. It's not something it normally runs because it's hard to fit because you kind of have to run BP in case of Doug. But since you can basically you know what's coming, so you can just run Wish as that last move and just have extra support for your team as well.
Yeah. Just protect
I
the old new meta.
yeah, dude, seriously. You do have sand
Try
though,
not to.
so it's not like you're going to be passively laning leftovers all the time. But my third pick was Fortress. So of course I wanted a spinner because I have lax, you know. So I needed something that was going to have spin. Um, I didn't really want to go the Claydol route just because not only was it picked right before me, but I think Fortress just has a little bit more to offer. I get spikes out of it, you know? And the steel typing is really nice, especially in draft. Only having one weakness is not that bad either, especially since Dragonite resists fire types and can come into most fire types. So yeah.
Well, I mean, say that until everything on the opponent's team just slots HP fire and you can't spike.
Well, yeah, that's why I just go to Dragonite and I have a fire immunity with my fourth pick, Houndoom, which Houndoom in draft, it's pretty niche, right? I mean, you kind of need a pursuiter with Fortress, I think especially in draft. Because Gengar is really good, and not only that, Haunter is pretty good and can also kill Fortress. Um, Missy slots on HP Fire. Thankfully, I was the one who got Missy on our side. Um, but yeah, like you're saying, everything's gonna be running HP Fire. So Houndoom is kind of the perfect pursuiter alongside. Also, Saurian Tower's taken by yourself.
Yeah.
And then your
Yeah.
fourth pick, you
Smeargle, which can really help a lot in just, well, for one, spikes and jolt go together like whatever thing you want to do.
yeah,
Peanut butter, jam, and peanut butter. I don't know. Whatever your thing is.
peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Um,
PB&J, something like that.
I know Smeargle's really good in draft. I had it in Emerald Open, and like I ran spikes with it. I did Endeavor. I did I did Tail Glow Pass, Dragon Dance Pass. Like it's just super versatile. Even just having obviously Spore, you know, that's just so good. Um,
Yeah.
Not only that, you can run all the moves you want. You can run Boom on it if you want to do more of a suicidal lead. So Smeargle's just it's a really good pick. Honestly, it's kind of a steal for 7 points.
7 points. Like, seriously, 7 points is like. Okay, Smeargle, in my opinion, offers more value to a team on average than Houndoom does.
Oh yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
agree.
yeah, like
Definitely. And
it's
Houndoom
like
is 12.
5 points less.
I mean, Houndoom does have just the ability to do damage, which
Yeah, I
Smeargle
mean, it's
doesn't
an actual
outside of
mod.
Explosion.
Smeargle is
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
but yeah,
Uh, but like definitely what you're saying, like Smeargle has access to every move. So like it can kind of work with anything. Houndoom is definitely more niche. Like it needs a specific kind of structure.
yeah.
Um,
Your fifth pick. Sorry.
oh no, yeah, yeah. My fourth pick, yeah, I wanted to go with Venusaur. So I've actually ran a team that had Houndoom, Venusaur, and Fortress on it before. I think I found it on the team dumps from the ADV forums, but I've ran it in regular OU on ladder. I've played games with it before, and it's just a really fun team. So they have a pretty cool synergy. And I wanted Leech Seed support because Leech Seed is probably the most spammable move, maybe behind Meteor Mash. That's probably the only one I could say is more spammable. But Leech
I
Seed
mean, Wisp
is,
is kind of up there as well, and
oh yeah,
knockoff,
yeah,
but that's
definitely.
rare.
Wisp is definitely up there for sure. But yeah, that's kind of my reasoning behind Venusaur. It has pretty fast sleep as well, which is not the most common thing. While still being a fight resist because now I have two with Wax and Doom. Um, yeah, that was kind of my thinking behind that. You went with Blastoise, so one of the other Kanto starters,
Well,
ironically.
Blastoise is quite a bit worse than Venusaur in general. However, what it does have for my team is, well, for one, it's a Metagross check.
Yeah,
Being a bulky water, which I was at this point kind of worried about because all the good water types were kind of taken. Swampert, Milotic, they're all kind of like going away pretty quickly. So Blastoise provided that, but more importantly, it provided Rapid Spin, which I'm not necessarily sure I need on this team as much because it's so offensive,
yeah,
but Blastoise at least having it is very useful.
definitely. And it still has other like useful utility like Refresh and it has Roar. It still gets stuff like
Your
Focus
coat?
Punch and things like that. Yeah, Blastoise is good. I also had a Blastoise when I had Smeargle on the same team in Emerald Open. It has the basically the same special attack as Swampert too. So its Hydro Pumps are going to be hitting like roughly the same versus normal things you'd probably see like Skarm. So Rapid Spin, Blastoise is kind of going to win that matchup. Um,
Yeah.
I also needed a bulky water. I decided to go for another fight resist, but also a psychic resist because now I added Venusaur to the list. And while Houndoom does have an immunity to Psychic, uh, most Psychic types, especially knowing that I have Houndoom, they're going to be slotting something to maybe try to hit it, like a HP Water or something. So I kind of wanted another thing that could switch into another Psychic type and maybe contend, and something that could, in a sense, sleep like or sweep like Snorlax could, but or be kind of like a mini Suicune, really. That was Slowbro. It's kind of rambled there,
Yeah.
but Slowbro has Calm Mind, Sleep Talk, so it can kind of act like a Crocoon in a sense. Not only that, it gets really good utility moves like Thunder Wave, especially, um, stuff like that. Uh,
Now, fourth, my fifth, in this case, actually, no, it's my sixth pick now,
yeah,
was Moltres. I do not know why this thing made it all the way down here, but it was there, so I decided it's a threatening fire type, it's a ground immunity, it's a fighting resist, so which I did have no fighting resist at the time. Moltres is not an amazing fighting resist, but it's something. Also helps with Metagross kind of.
yeah. No, Moltres is
It just
definitely good,
demands so much
and it
for
has
like an
Twist.
opponent's draft team.
Like Jolteon is like pretty commonly paired with Moltres on the spike teams that you normally see Jolteon on in OU anyway. So like it's a pretty good synergy. You have your water resist. You got two water resists actually. One's coming up, but and you have your electric immunity with Jolt and Flygon. So it pairs really well, I think, with your team.
Yeah.
Um, so your seventh pick, I just kind of foreshadowed that it was resist. I mean, they can see it on the screen here. It's a Sceptile.
Yeah. I mean, it's Sceptile is for 11 points. It's pretty solid.
Hmm.
It's in OU. It's a good UUBL Pokemon. It's like I mean, it's not seen that often, but I guess it could be used in OU.
Yeah.
It has True tying speed, which is very useful.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
also can do things like annoy Raikou as well. Like random things like just outspeed the like it can outspeed a +6 Coup Psych Up,
Oh, it has
which
Psycho?
is kind of funny. Oh, wait, sorry, what was that?
It has Psycho?
I thought you said it I thought you
No,
said
Credilli does.
oh, never mind.
Yeah.
You're talking in DMs about grass type picks.
Yeah, yeah. That's where that came
Yeah.
from. I was either saying, well, Credilli can kind of check Raikou because it has Psych Up and stuff, but Sceptile outspeed, so you can just Leech Seed the Raikou before it can sub, stuff like
Or I
that.
could like run it off an offensive set, like physically offensive set with Earthquake,
Oh yeah, definitely.
which
And
is
you
kind of
could even
funny.
Dragon Dance pass to it.
He passed step done.
Yeah,
Ladies and
Moltres.
gentlemen, we are reinventing the draft minigame.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Moltres' base 100 attack, like Flygon does. Jolt can keep the chain going and even pass a sub.
It's like Moltres having 100 attack is just weird.
Yeah, I know. It's so random.
Yeah.
My
Regardless, Sapala is just
oh
also fills out the Firewater Grass core.
yeah.
Just
And those cores are really good in draft too, because between those three, you pretty much resist most types. There's also cores like Fighting Psychic Dark, which are pretty cool and pretty good. But Firewater Grass is just really safe, really solid defensively. My seventh pick was Trapinch. I going into my last pick,
best mon of all time.
I I knew basically I was gonna have my pick of like the 8 pointers. So I wanted to get a head start on the little cup mons, so to speak, or the weaker mons, the low point mons.
What do you
Um,
mean Trapinch is broken?
yeah, yeah. Well, it has Arena Trap. So Arena Trap is kind of the whole idea behind Trap Inch. There's so many things you can do with it. Like it can actually be EV'd to Oko Raikou and live +1 of like whatever hidden power Raikou wants to run. Um, and I mean it can do the same for Tar, but UDM was saying like obviously Tar can run like double edge, and that's not really the case anymore. But it is still cool. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the whole Just Fine Trap Inch. It's kind of a gimmick, but it has Arena Trap, so there's also things I can do with my last mon and Trap Inch, because of Arena Trap, like Perish Song. My last mon is Mischievous, so I wanted a Ghost type that could obviously block spin for my spikes. Most of the people got either Starmie or Claydol as spinners, so Missy kind of pairs or matches pretty well into them, especially Claydol. And it has Calm Mind too, so it can kind of counter sweep in a sense if it gets the opportunity. It
Has
also gets
Calm.
yeah, it gets Calm Mind. It also
I
has
did not even
Imprison,
know that because everyone is running the stupid rest perish
Perish. Yeah,
Starmie looks.
that's good.
The it
Yeah,
is, but it's like you just don't even run Mischievous as a Pokemon. You just use it as a
as a
deletion
trapper.
device.
Yeah. But it
Which
also
could also
gets
be cool.
Taunt plus Calm Mind. Um, of course, it gets stuff like Sub. It gets Pain Split, T-Wave. Um, it even gets Imprison, so you could just run Shadow Ball as like a last move on Perish Trap even, I guess, and just imprison it. So like Dusclops or Snorlax or Bayonet can't even touch you. And then you just remove them. Yeah, Missy's
This
cool. It has a
really
lot
gives
of
me those to
tools.
tell that.
Your last mon, Nose Pass, actually has use though. We were talking about
Don't disrespect the nose.
it.
Well, it's kind of like it can kind of trap Skarmory, but not really.
Yeah.
Like it can run like it can basically taunt Skarm so it cannot roar, and then it just like slowly T-bolts. Not only would it three-layer you most of the time in that scenario, you would also just kind of Skarmory can just run taunt itself and taunt the nose pass. Even max speed plus speed nature nose pass. Just no speed Skarmory still outspeeds you, so it can taunt you and then roar. However, if Skarmory is paralyzed, then nose pass can in fact trap it.
So Nose
However,
Pass
that's
can't
not its
even it can't even outspeed the Storm at plus speed nature with no investment on the Storm.
I believe nose pass hits
I can
174 speed, and Skarm's min speed, so to speak, is
like 177, right?
177.
Yeah. Oh
177.
man. Well, it is good against Fori.
Yeah, it can just run max special attack Fire Punch and just 2-hit KO that.
Yeah.
Before he can't actually OHKO the nose pass back.
I
If anything,
wonder
it could
HP
almost
Steel
has a
might
better matchup
do
against
something.
Fortress than Magneton does.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
'Cause
Fortress's like only hope would be to do like choice band HP Steel, but I doubt that kills.
Choice banded HP Steel. I want to count that. You know what?
I mean, like that's the only thing I could think of that would like maybe do a lot to Nose Pass because obviously it resists Boom. Earthquake is not stab, and Nose Pass is like pretty bulky.
It's like, it has very low HP. I forget what its base HP stat is.
His base defense
Let me.
is pretty absurd though.
That's 135. Okay, Nosepass's base HP is a whopping 30.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's Snorlax's speed.
It's Snorlax's. Yeah. Okay, so Power Steel or okay, so oh well, you do in fact OHKO zero bulk nose pass.
Oh wow.
However,
Well, that would have to be
max HP nose
max.
pass most of the time lives.
That's max attack Adamant Fortress though.
That's max attack adamant banded fortress.
Oh man. So it probably just dies to Fire Punch though anyway,
Yeah, let me calc that.
without any
Fire
bulk.
punch. Yeah, max attack. Well, if you're max attack modest, then you guaranteed OHKO bulkless 40.
That is
So
just such a
technically
weird
speaking,
interaction.
however, run max HP banded before he wins. So
Oh, that
this
is
is what the
true,
meta
huh?
of draft has become, folks.
Exactly. C teaming. That pretty much brings us into our opponents. Obviously we're gonna be opponents too at some point, but uh, the other people. I'm looking at the first pick click. That's Shiny's team. Um, they went with Skarmory. Great pick, of course. And they picked Claydol, so I couldn't even go Claydol if I wanted to. Um, and they got Starmie. So they got two spinners. Starmie's probably definitely going to be more of a sweeper on their team, I'm assuming. Um,
Yeah, because 40 will always. I mean, Claydol will always take the role of a spinner or something else, like the
yeah.
vast, vast, vast majority of the time. I have never really seen, Starmie take up the role of spinner when when someone has a Claydol.
Yeah. Or like likewise, like Starmie and Fori or Claydol and Fori. Claydol's always the spinner in most of pairings. They also
Yeah.
got P2 and Ludicolo, which P2 has pretty decent special attack, and its bulk is pretty good. So in draft, especially when it doesn't have to trap Doug, it's kind of unpredictable. Its moveset is kind of crazy too. So P2 is something to kind of look out for. It's also kind of really good at scouting because it's gonna tell what your ability is, and especially in draft, you could have an ability specifically to counter something else, and P2 is gonna give that away. So
Yeah, that's pretty useful. Ludicolo itself is okay. Ludicolo is pretty devastating, especially in conjunction with Starmie and Spikes.
yeah,
Also,
and
Leech
Leech
Seed
Seed.
is very useful.
Leech Seed is so good, and Ludi too. Like if you have a matchup where you're running into a slower team, or you're running into a team where you probably want a bulkier water, you can just run offensive star with a bulkier Ludicolo and still have like rain dish on it paired with leech seed, protect. Like that's in draft, that's a pretty damn good set.
It
They do
also kind of walls Metagross,
yeah, exactly. I mean
especially in a
meta has to
sandless
boom.
environment.
Meta has to boom. Um then they're
And
slacking.
now, for their team, we get to the best pick, despite what Z Panther may say, in
um,
draft, when you know it's coming, slacking.
yeah, so look, I mean, slacking hits like a truck, right? There's no denying that. And if you're gonna run it on ladder as like a lead or something, just on a goof team, it can kind of put in work sometimes. It's unexpected. Um, the thing about slacking though in something like draft is when you know it's coming, you can just slot on protect on a couple mons, and then, well, slacking's
Yeah,
basically
unless they have like
useless.
a Blissey and then like they didn't want Protect, in which case oftentimes you're just screwed.
Yeah, I mean, well, that
But
then
they could just have
wish
Protect there
protect
anyway, so it's
Blissey
fine.
becomes viable, right?
Yes, Wish Protect Blissey. Well, technically in a metagame like Draft, it could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
their other
sure
pick, Altaria, is pretty good though.
Altaria is good. It has heal bell support, so like rest Claydol is infinitely more viable. Rest Skarm, which is not normally seen, but could be scary in the right situation. Skarm's already hard to kill as is, so uh, also it gets stuff like Dragon Dance, so it can help sweep. It's gonna take a couple Dragon Dances before it gets a sweep, but it still can kind of do that sometimes.
Yeah, it's at +6. I promise you, it'll threaten you eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Parasec's, I mean, it has Spore. That's I don't even know if it gets Leech Seed in this gen. I don't think it does.
It probably doesn't, but Spore is more value than most of the other 2 pointers, or if any of the 2 pointers really.
Yeah,
Like looking back on it, I probably should have went with. I mean, unless you have Duskull or something, or Shuppet maybe. Well, probably Duskull. But like, Parasect probably would have given me more value than Nosepass would have.
yeah. I think if you can get it in on the right mon, uh, it just becomes really valuable. I just worry that it's gonna be a whole lot of do nothing and never really be slotted on anyone's team. It was brought in Emerald Open. I actually played two different people who had it, but they never brought it versus me. So I've never really seen it in action. If you can get it in on something that's EQing that just can't touch it, like Ludicolo, actually, it actually kind of, I mean, they have Ludicolo, but if they didn't, it would be a pretty good thing to switch into Ludi.
I mean, my Blastoise, I mean, Parasect walls Blastoise, walls Sceptile.
That's true.
Most of the other
I mean,
things, no, it doesn't,
Sceptile
but
probably
it
is
can,
more prone to run HP Fire though.
yeah, probably, on it. No, not really, because I need HPIs for Altaria. Actually, nah, because I
No,
need
but
HP
you
Fire for
can,
Storm. Yeah.
yeah, you can just run like Ice Beam on Blastoise and just always switch into Altaria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. So Altaria, wait a sec, does it get Wisp in this gen?
Altaria? No. No. They don't have a Whisper
Will,
on their team.
oh, huh. Thought it got Wisp in a gen. Never mind.
Um, that brings us to the regular show. They have one of the scarier teams, I think. At least the first six. Obviously, Rhyhorn and Magnemite. I mean, they might make an appearance, but definitely not the front runners on this team. Um,
What do you mean, Magnemite is respected?
but they have a Firewater Grass Core, which is really good, and then they basically have three legendaries. I mean, Metagross isn't a legendary, but it's stronger than most of them, so they have a
Stronger
solid
than
team.
Mewtwo?
Yeah. Well, no, not stronger than Mewtwo. Mewtwo can just Fire Blast it, but I mean, it's gonna pound the two legendaries that this guy has on his team. Although the highest base defense mon and the highest base special defense mon being on your team is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the scarier teams for sure, just from those six. I mean, you can almost guarantee that when you play them, you're gonna just see those first six. So it's not really like you have to worry about Rhyhorn and Magnemite, even if they did bring them.
Yeah, I mean, Rhyhorn, Rhyhorn is very funny. But no, it is not good. Never use it.
Mm-mm. I mean,
Anything.
it maybe can like switch into some lax sets, maybe like a body slam shadow ball lax. But I mean, if Lax has
Just
EQ, then
use
it's over.
Regirock.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's you can almost guarantee you're not going to see those, but you know they're there. They're cool. Rhyhorn is cool. I like Rhyhorn. That brings us to the next team, the Owen Oinkaloons. I like his first four, or well, mainly his first three. I Zap Celebi is a great duo, and then Cloyster, you can't go wrong with the Spiker. I think Miltank can fit
Yeah.
because it's pretty fast, but I worry Klops might be a little bit of a pace mismatch. Um, and they probably could have went with something maybe like Missy or even Haunter that would have kind of fit the pace a little bit more because you kind of want to be more offensive when you have Cloyster. Although I do think Marowak with Zapdos, obviously great. Zap can pass at agilities. Celebi can pass sword stances as well, so that's really cool. I think his decision behind Volbeat was probably just get another baton pass user, I'd assume. It does have like tail glow as well, but that's probably a little harder to pull off, I think. Um,
Yeah.
and then
I mean,
Butterfree is like Parasect. It has sleep.
yeah, I mean, does it have compound eyes this gen?
Hmm. Yeah, it does. So
Yeah,
it
so
sleeps
that's
pretty
a
accurate.
very accurate sleep then.
Yeah. It's just I mean Butterfree has utility for sure. Um, I want to say it gets like either Moonlight or Morning Sun, one of those. So it has like healing. It's just not really that bulky to make good use of it. But it does still have sleep, which is really good. And it has Stun Spore. I think it has Whirlwind too, which is kind of good. Um,
Yeah.
Next team is Pokology's team. He doesn't have.
Certainly the team of all time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very, I mean, Pokology is a player who is kind of is very known for being pretty unpredictable in general.
yeah, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
I think personally, I'm really worried about his team because he has Registeel, Hariyama, and Armaldo, which of course are really good into Lax, not to mention Aerodactyl, which can just flinch it to death. Clefable can encore Lax into like Curse or Rest, all bad. He also has Gardevoir, which has Memento, so that could be really bad. You know, like Memento Gardevoir into Belly Drum, Hariyama, and then have like sub Salak Berry on Yama. That could just devastate teams. And then he also has Roselia. So he kind of went a similar route to me and didn't spend a ton of points early so that he had more points for his last pick. I was actually kind of worried he was going to pick Missy because it kind of seems like something he might do with the way his team was going. But Roselia too is still really good. It has aromatherapy, which is basically heal bell, you know, and spikes, which is always good, especially with arrow.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's Pokology. If there's a player I would be worried about facing, it would probably be Pokology. I mean, because they're like the main player, like the main good player I know here besides probably Z Panther. But I could probably get a better idea of what Z Panther will do than Pokology.
Yeah, yeah. No, Poco is definitely unpredictable, but and that can be scary, especially in this format.
Yeah.
Um, the next guy is Turd Ferguson. He doesn't have a team name either. Um, he kind of went a different route. He has three waters and Bliss and Magneton, Metacham, Meganium, and Porygon. I think Porygon's a pretty good pick for like I think it was like what is it 2 points or something?
It's one.
1 point. That's really good because for 1 point, Porygon's pretty bulky and its base stats aren't too bad compared to the rest of those ones. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously Blissey's really good. Swampert needs almost no introduction. I mean, super good. Kingdra and Gyarados is an interesting pair, but I mean, I could see it. It's just gonna Kingdra's Rain Dance is just gonna help Gyarados maybe use Hydro Pump more. I don't know. Magnet,
Well, I mean, the Magneton, so
yeah.
probably just going to DD anyway.
I've ran DD with Hydro before. It kills Arrow, so it's
Oh,
definitely an option. Um, that way you can run Hidden Power Flying or hidden a different Hidden Power. Hidden Power Ghost for Gengar, whatever. Starmie. Magneton's cool too. I mean, he doesn't have a spinner, so it's definitely a wise choice to go with something to remove Skarm and Fori. And I mean, it doesn't trap Cloyster, obviously, but it's going to scare it out, of course. Um, so yeah, and Almastar too, I suppose. That's someone drafted Almastar. Um, it's also going to help Magneton out if he does face Skarmory. Or I said Magneton, I meant Metacham. It's going to help the Metacham out. Um,
yeah.
Meganium's
That
cool
is very
too.
scary.
Meganium has Leech, which is nice. I think it has like Synthesis, which is pretty good since there's no sand on his team.
Yeah. It's decently bulky. Probably going to help out versus various rocks.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, it has like base 100 defenses, I think, so it can kind of be like kind of like Blastoise like that, where it's like bulky enough to just switch into like Tar or something and still
Yeah.
maybe not like threaten it out or whatnot, but it can kind of hold it off. Um,
Yeah. Speed isn't even that bad.
yeah, that brings us to the last Ruby member, the City Salamances, by Cave. That's their that's their guy whose team it is. He
Their
got.
team is really scary.
I think the first three are really scary. Um, of course, Raikou and Mence are really good. They're in the two highest point brackets, and Gengar, of course, is awesome, and he has Glalie. Um, I kind of don't see a reason for Donphan to be here, considering Mence and
I kind of
Gengar.
disagree.
I
Bit.
mean, if you
Like,
want to spin for Coup, sure, but
it's less about spinning, more about being a good rock resist. It's
I
like,
suppose
look at their team, look at DD Tar without Donphan.
that's true. But I
Yeah.
mean, you're only going to run into Tar once in the regular season and maybe once in the
We'll run
playoffs.
into
If
Era as
if
well.
and maybe once in the playoffs. That's like, you know. So it's I mean Arrow too, yeah, but I mean Mence with Intimidate can kind of switch into Arrow. Gar's infamous for being able to survive Arrow, Mence, and +1 Tar. Um I see the reasoning under like normal OU circumstances. I just worry because Donphan's a little slow compared to those guys, and with Glalie you want kind of all out offense. I really liked the Hypno pick though because I mean Taunt is really good. Um, I also think like BP he can just kind of I don't know Calm My Pass into Salamence into Gengar, into Coup, you know. Those are all super good
On my
options.
pass to Doug, eat Blissey Ice Beam and beat up.
Yeah, yeah, Diglett. I'm sure there's a calc. Like if you're able to get enough, you know what I mean? I'm sure there is. It's pretty good into like Breloom especially because it has Insomnia, stuff like that. So it's good to have something that's not going to get swept in draft, I think. Um, and, and I don't mean to be like hating on the Donphan pick. I do like Donphan. I just don't know if it's like the perfect choice for this dude, but it's still a good mon for sure. Diglett is cool. I mean, it's like Trapinch in that it has Arena Trap. Um, obviously, it doesn't hit as hard as Trapinch. Trapinch has like almost double the attack, but it's fast, so. That's what it has going for it. I think it gets up to like 317 speed with Jolly, so it's pretty fast. And then Star U, I think that was just kind of like I don't know. He probably just was like, I have 1 point, let me pick Star U.
Yeah, they're probably better picks. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not even the worst thing. It's a natural cure water, but it's just too weak. Well, too
yeah.
frail as well.
We do have a
I
free
mean,
agency, so he'll
you
probably
have two
drop
points.
it
What
or
are you gonna
something.
get?
Yeah. Um, the next team is the first team in Sapphire. Uh, this is my first time like seeing the finished teams for Sapphire, but this team looks pretty solid. Zap, Arrow, Heracross is the first four with Omastar as the spiker. This guy does have Dusclops again. I think Dusclops makes a little bit more sense. It's not the best pace match, but he also doesn't really have that many really good bulky mons. So I think it makes more sense for this dude. Tentacle is pretty underrated, I think. And of course, it has spin, mirror coat, stuff like that. Clef is really good. He got it.
Very good for the price of 0 points.
Oh, for zero?
There, yeah, for 0 points. The thing shows zero on mine.
Oh, it's showing 9 on the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, for some reason it shows as zero on mine, which is very funny.
Yeah, I know. So I was thinking, Poco took Clef with his second pick, and this guy got it with his second. But that's just how
Zero.
draft goes sometimes. Um, Definitely Clef is something to look out for though. It has like all the utility in the world. Bayleaf is okay. It's kind of just like mini Meganium but with less bulk. Too bad no Violet. But then there's the Ginyu Force. That's the other Lax user. He used in Sapphire. His team is kind of similar to mine. So his first two picks was Snorlax and
Exact same.
Dragonite. Yeah, just like me. Um, and he also
Is actually
got one of the Slow twins. He got Slow King. I have Slow Bro. We both have Trapinch and a Ghost type, and we both have a Spinner. So kind of similar overall. I do like Armaldo for him as a last pick. That's pretty good pickup. Um, he does have quite a lot of dark weaknesses here, but I mean, there's only three people that have a way to pursuit, so that'd be you, me, and the Tar user in Sapphire, whoever that is. I don't think there's another Pursuit user that was drafted. So I
Yeah.
mean, this guy will be okay in most matchups. Um, Armaldo with his last pick is really good though. I think that's pretty damn pretty damn good. I think his team is
Yeah.
pretty solid
And
overall.
knock and rapid spin is just cool.
Yeah, yeah. He has two
Just a lot
viable
better than
spin
mine.
users. Obviously, he has Claydol, so most of the time he's gonna want that. But he could
Right,
always
yeah.
just run like SD or knock on Maldo.
An SD and knock. Probably
Yeah,
not though.
probably not. Yeah, but he could. So we get to Yak's team. He's the guy who is running this whole league. His team looks like a Fizz-off team, pretty much. Like Fizz-off spikes. There's no mag, but there's less need for mag in draft. So
Fun fact, they have three of the same Pokemon as me. Flygon, Jolteon, and Smeargle.
that's true. Yeah.
It's a very
Um,
different take on stuff than me. Mine is
yeah.
special off, theirs is fizz off.
Yeah. His is definitely more of a Fizz-off. He has that Gyra-Lix synergy going, also with Jolteon. I'm surprised you got Jolteon as late as you did. Um, that's kind of a steal on his part.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with the, I mean, same thing with the mole trace on mine. It's like, what is it? What are these 14 pointers just doing laying around?
I think everybody
Honestly.
just realized they couldn't fill out their roster if they went after them. Or like, I'm really surprised about Smeargle being his seventh pick too, because Smeargle was probably threatening to go really early in ours because Spikers went really fast, but in theirs Spikers kind of held on for a long time, so it was a little different.
Yeah.
Um, then we get the Bulls team. Bull has a pretty good team. The fighting Porygon team. He also has Porygon.
Fighting Oregon.
He got Raikou, which is pretty scary, and Doug. So, um, Doug wasn't even drafted in our side in Ruby, so he doesn't even have to worry about his Raikou getting Dugged, which you could call that an oversight on Ruby's behalf, but I think everybody kind of has a plan at least to deal with Raikou because you kind of have to. Um, but Milo and Fori is a pretty scary combo. Milo's always unkillable, so when you pair it with Spin, it's just nuts. The other Milo user doesn't have Spin, so
Yeah, I mean,
um,
no pursuit, so a spin blocker could kind of screw over Fori though.
yeah, that is true.
Not like completely because you can do stuff as the Fori, but still, it's
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, I think at least into Gengar, Fort just has kind of a better matchup maybe in draft because it can Zap Cannon and the Zap Cannon would just cripple the Gar. But against stuff like Missy that probably doesn't really care as much about being T-waved, or like Banette who's kind of already slow as is, it's maybe not the best. But it can
Run
also
that
just run
choice
HP
bandits that we
Ghost.
talked about earlier, but with HP Ghost.
Yeah, and then boom. Um,
Choice
he
bandits
also
bully is
drafted
real.
Scyther, so I suggested Scyther to him in the chat because he didn't know who to draft, and I had actually just recently got a Scyther shirt. Um, so I was like, dude, draft Scyther. It's cool. It's a fight resist for Regirock, and a ground immune because he had a bunch of grounded Pokemon. And then it also has like SD and Baton Pass or Sub Pass, stuff like that. I think it has
Yeah, I mean,
agility too.
not much here will really abuse that
I
that
think
well.
SD Pass and the Doug could be scary.
Maybe, maybe.
Um, and then he has Porygon, which for a one pointer we've already talked about is pretty underrated. And then Meditite, who with the choice banded fake out, that's actually like not a bad lead at all.
His base attack stat after huge power is. Let me check. I haven't calced this in a bit, but I
I
think if it's max adamant, it's almost 400.
Yeah, it's pretty high with the choice band. Like
Yeah, it's it's higher than like I think it's higher than Gyarados'.
oh jeez. That just speaks volumes. Oh, okay. So the next team, the Seattle Suicunes. No Suicune on the squad though, because it's banned.
Yeah.
Um,
Spice Toss.
yeah, I think they're the other Tar user, and Tar Pert is a pretty damn good combo. They also have Scizor, which I think could be low key good. Blaziken is cool. I think in draft it just becomes infinitely way better. Um, I do wonder this guy is probably gonna be a little weak to Raikou aside from the T-Tar.
Yeah, unless Grumpig could do something, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean Grumpig has stuff like Trick, so maybe he can like pull something crazy off. But he also, I Hariyama's like Whirlwind, but it's probably gonna have to eat a big hit in order to pull that off. So there's definitely ways you can get around it, but I do like the Scizor pick. I think Scizor is pretty underrated, especially in draft. And Grumpig's really
Yeah.
good too. It has thick fat, so it's basically like a fight resist and a water resist, or not a water resist, but it acts like a water resist because it resists ice and fire,
Mm.
or a
Then you
bulky
have
water, I mean.
you have Lord Helix here.
Lord Helix. Oh yeah, Omnimite.
Lord Helix is the most threatening Pokemon in this draft, more
I
than
mean,
Trapinch.
it does get spikes, right? Like on the star.
Yeah, it is a spiker.
That is true.
It's a spiker of all time.
Maybe we'll see a focus band so it can guarantee a spike or something.
Kiss Focus ba
Stantler, it has Intimidate, which is actually cool. It also is like decently fast and has Hypnosis. So, and
Yeah.
Calm Mind, I don't think it gets Baton Pass though. I'm not sure.
Baton. No, it does not.
Yeah, I think that's Draft Rig that I'm thinking of. But Standler's cool. Intimidate's always useful. Of course, you can just kind of intimidate swap with it if you need to. I think too, it can kind of fit with what he has already. Um, I mean, I could see it like switching out for something like Blaziken every once in a while, or maybe Hariyama or Scizor.
Mm.
The next team, his team name is TSGH. I don't know what that stands for, but this is Dazi. I think he was
The sudden, whatever GS, whatever GH means.
the sudden something.
The
Um,
sudden realization that your acronym doesn't work.
um, his team's pretty threatening, honestly. I think in a way
I
it's
mean,
kind of
men's
similarly built to
Starmie.
yours with a lot of fast spike abusers. Um, but I think he kind of leaned into more of like all out special offense. Mens can definitely kind of will probably run physical sets on some teams or some matchups. But aside from that, his only real physical threat's probably gonna be like Tauros. Registeel's probably gonna run like seismic toss most of the time. Um,
Registeel is kind of a mix match on this, I feel, but it might work.
yeah, I think just being a steel type and just having something to absorb, it's okay. Because other than
It's
Registeel, they don't
cool.
really have anything that can switch in, unless they plan on using Wonder Guard as a pivot.
And they could in most matchups.
They could, yeah. I mean, Wonder Guard is a lot better. I really considered Shid Ninja over Trapinch as my like little cut mon or whatever, like my weak mon. Um, because of Wonder Guard is just really good at helping you pivot. But I
I did
also kind
not,
of yeah, I also just thought
because
that
of Stan.
Trap would be better. Right, because you just need to make sure that you get the spin off if you're going to be using it. So it's just kind of risky. This guy doesn't even have spin, so in matchups versus spikes, I don't even think he can bring Shedinja. It's just
I
not going to be
mean,
worth it.
they do have Starmie, so it's like, you know.
Oh, they do. I didn't even. I just had a brain fart. I was thinking because the other guy had two spinners, but this, yeah, he does have Starmie. That is right. Starmie's a pretty good spinner too. If he does make it off star, which it probably should be on this structure, it's not going to get the most opportunities to spin though. But I mean, it's
I
definitely
mean, like, they could easily run a balanced team with Bulky Me, Registeel, and, like, they have, like, they have part of a defensive core. Like, even Mens can run a defensive set, technically. Like,
that's true.
they have the makings for a technical balanced team if they wanted.
I think they could too. Like they don't have to do like a suicide Glalie either. I mean, it's base 80 bulk all the way around is actually kind of okay, especially in draft. So they can do like rest Glalie and just keep getting their spikes up because
Probably
they
not.
have, well, no, but they have heal bell on Ampharos, so it's always an option.
Oh, yeah, they
Um,
actually do. That's actually is pretty smart.
yeah, because
Ampharos
Glalie has
is
decent bulk compared to like most of the things that are gonna want to come into it. So like, why not just make it a longevity spiker? It's just not normally in regular OU. It also helps
yeah.
Registeel too if it wants to run rest. Um, Next team is this team is pretty crazy for the first four picks, and then the last four are kind of a mixed bag, but I definitely see potential with some of them at least.
Yeah.
Um,
Zeo Trip and the gambling addicted Grumpigs.
yeah, oh yeah,
I
and you
mean,
didn't
their
even draft
team
Grumpig.
selections quality is kind of gambling as well.
Yeah.
Never know what you're gonna get.
Celebi Bliss is quite a pairing. I mean, that's going to be a really frustrating pairing to deal with, but I think versus the wrong team, it's also probably really easy to mess with. I mean, right off the bat, I think this is my easiest matchup with Lax if I ever run into this person. They have no
Yeah.
boom. their only real thing they could do is like imprison on Mischievous, but I could always just run a different hidden power or something else to hit it, or I could trap it with Houndoom. So it's kind of not a matchup I'm too worried about, but I think versus some teams it can be really good. I think versus the last team we saw, it's actually stacks up pretty decently.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, most teams won't have that many special attackers.
yeah, exactly. And then the combo of Blastoise and Charizard is pretty good. I think starters are a really good choice in draft just because they have high base stats. For the most part, they of course he has spin for Celebi and he has a Fire Water Grass core, so he's pretty sound defensively. Um, Crobat is also kind of scary. And Quillfish because he has spikes. Crobat is its speed ties Arrow and Jolt. It just doesn't
Yeah,
hit that hard.
I don't know. Crobat is it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I think it could
It's
be
like
good
it
in the right
cannot hit
situation though.
Metagross or Regirock or anything like that for its life.
Yeah, it needs HP ground. And then you're not able to run stuff like HP Ice, which I mean it has base 70 special attack, but that's kind of something it wants to do too because that way it can hit like Claydol and Flygon. So it's kind of tough.
I mean, they have spikes, so they could probably just. I mean, they could do things like feasibly Whirlwind on the Switch and such, but
Yeah,
it's not that easy to pull off.
yeah. I think it's definitely like solid. It's
You could
just
probably
tough
do
too when
something.
their spiker stacks the same weaknesses because it's also a poison type.
Yeah. They don't really have. Well, I mean, they can eat psychics. They have a Celebi and a Blissey, so they're fine.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's just who do you drop at that point? Because you probably want Missy if you're bringing Quillfish most of the time, just to block spin. Especially since Quillfish isn't going to be around for long. I don't know. We'll see how it goes for them throughout the season. I think their team's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Is this the last team? I think this is the last team.
Yeah, that
Nulls
is the
Nuggets.
last.
Their first two are really solid. I think you cannot go
First
wrong.
four are solid.
Yeah, I think the between the first four though, that is just like Houndoom's wet dream.
I mean,
uh,
yeah.
and
They're
like
similar to K-Fat, kind
yeah,
of.
it's just tough too because it's like what is going to switch into Will-O-Wisp on this team, and
Yeah, but I mean, like. Well, actually, you know what's going to switch into, Wisp on this team? Deep Sea, Deep Sea Scale Clamperl.
oh well, then Doom would
You want
just
to know
kill
what
it
Deep Sea
though.
Scale does?
It's boosts your special attack by two, right, or doubles it, or
Doubles the
is that
Spadef Deep Sea Scale does. You
oh
can have
oh it's
Deep
the
Sea,
other one. It's
you
the
can have
other
Deep
one.
Sea Tooth or Deep Sea Scale and double either your Spadef or your special attack.
I mean, if they go Clan Pro
A
though, that's
one
just
pointer that
asking for
can
Lax to
work.
come in.
Too bad they don't have any. Like, I mean, Clamperl doesn't have any real.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely come
Yeah.
into Houndoom, but I mean, if you're bringing
Doesn't
Houndoom,
have. It can't do anything back though,
yeah, in your if you're bringing it,
unless you want to mimic the Will-O-Wisp.
well, you're also like you're letting either Medicham, Donphan, or something go to bring Clan Pearl,
Yeah.
which
I
is
mean,
just
it is kind
tough.
of funny though.
Yeah, no, I mean, it can definitely work in the right situation. Deep Sea Scale is actually kind of a solution for Houndoom. I didn't really think of it like that, but it definitely is. Um,
I mean, it probably won't work just because Clamperl can't really muster anything back. But
yeah,
if
and
it
then it just
runs out,
invites in Lax, and that's either a free Focus Punch or Shadow Ball on the Skarm or Gar, and it
I mean,
just
you
gets
have
all bad
Skarmory and
there.
yeah, that. So it's not like even the Terrifine versus Lax. I'm
Yeah,
more concerned with like, oh, I don't know, maybe fighters and something if they're like that strong.
I think
But maybe not.
this is a matchup I'm not too worried about as well. They're in Sapphire, so we wouldn't even be seeing these people until playoffs. But uh, I think this is just a team that Lax is actually pretty decent. They do have Skarmory, but I have Spin and ways to play around Skarmory.
Storm and Gengar are kind of like, you know,
Well, Gengar I'm not concerned about at all. I mean, I can just straight up run really bulky Houndoom on this. All I need to do
they
is
could.
EV for
Unless Gengar
Medicham.
figures out a way around it.
Yeah.
Which they might.
I
Could
think I think I'm
be a
probably gonna be running black
Pokology and
glasses a
run
lot.
Bandit a fighting move.
Oh, I mean, you
It's kind
could.
of effective.
That's definitely possible. It's tough, but it's possible. Um, that would allow me to get a free trap of Missy though.
Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say? I think Houndoom, I'm probably gonna be running black glasses a lot, just because the extra damage is nice. I think it boosts Crunch up to like 88 power, if that's how
You do
Showdown
that
kind of
against
like
me.
calculates it. What?
You do that against me.
Yeah. I mean, Houndoom's good. Well, in the right situation, it's good. It's good, especially
Black
versus
glasses, Houndoom
Celebi.
specifically, so you get chipped by sand.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, no, I probably won't run it
Yeah, I
in
was
that
asking
matchup.
that.
Yeah. Plus, you also don't have a ghost to worry about. So, I mean, it's definitely good into Moltres for sure. Gives me something to pivot around, but we were saying Moltres has pretty good physical attack, so it can HP fight if it wants. Um,
If it
or even like HP ground, maybe. I don't know.
Ecology has
Uh,
actually used lead HP fight choice baited Moltres in the past.
I've
Kind
seen
of
it
like
on
lure you.
I've seen it
So I can
on
take a
Zach's
peek at
Sun
their
team.
book and just kill the Houndoom.
Have you seen the Sun team that's posted on the team dumps? The one that Zach made? It uses
Zach's main
leads. Yeah, Zach PZ. It uses lead
No,
CV
I
Molt.
haven't.
It's like all in on Sun. So it has like Eggy and like I think it has Mence, CV Molt. Yeah, you should check it out. It's it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of a meme though.
Bet I don't have actual Sun abusers besides Molt.
Yeah. No, I mean you could do like Solar Beam Sceptile if you really wanted, but I mean super niche.
I mean, I have a Tyranitar, so.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't want to clear your sand. I mean, unless you're trying to, I guess, Pataya Berry with Sept, but you could just bring out Tar last. I mean,
Yeah, I could.
um, yeah. So that pretty much does it for the draft. Going over everybody's team. Any final thoughts?
I mean, maybe we could have, like, just a few people whose teams seem particularly good or something. Maybe
Okay.
not if you don't want to leave anyone out.
Yeah. No, no, no. I was saying, I think Poco's team matches pretty well into mine. So
I mean,
I'm a
is it a
little
good team
bit.
overall?
Yeah, because he has a bunch of lax checks. Clefable's pretty good into Dragonite, as long as it doesn't catch a fighting move. Hariyama's the best thing in the world versus Houndoom. He has a potential spin to get rid of my spikes. Gardevoir can also mess with Fori pretty hard. Um, and yeah, I think that's the team I'm most worried about. I think though that what was this guy? The guy after you, this guy Mux, his team. I think
Yeah,
that
Muck's team is just good in general.
yeah, I think the first six Pokemon are just super
Most spikes are
solid.
spin, but it's a great six.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have spin, which might be an issue for Milo, but it's just a really strong team, so it might not even get to that point. He actually already played his game. He played
I think, was it? Or was it someone else?
yeah. Was that the guy right after
I
him?
think it
Yeah,
was
the team
Tom.
right after his. And he won. It wasn't like particularly close either. I mean, it came down to a lucky crit where it just opened it up, and then Dom just didn't have anything to play for at that point. But this guy Mux kind of had. I mean, he was kind of in the driver's seat for most of that game. So
And I played a few friendlies with them. Well, a friendly and regular. They played well. Like they're a good player.
yeah. So yeah, what about you? Any teams that you're particularly
Oh, I
scared of?
mean, same for you in a sense of Mux and Poco, but for different reasons. Poco because I know how good Poco is as a player and how hard it is to really prepare for Poco.
Hmm.
And Mux just for the same reasons. It's like, I mean, I okay, the matchup isn't necessarily that poor for me even, I think. Like Flygon or something, but it's not like it's definitely not bad for them either, because Regice is very good into special offense.
Yeah, I think
Besides that, it's like
two like sleeper teams maybe are probably gonna be the other Lax guy. I think his team is pretty like well rounded. And Bull's team.
well, yeah. This team, yeah, it is a it's kind of unconventional, like just with Raikou on a more defensive team otherwise, but it's not bad.
Mm-mm.
Not
I
bad.
think too, like Milo doesn't necessarily have to run a defensive set. It might most of the time here, but it could also be like specially defensive here since you have the Flurry and the Regirock, and Milo has really high special defense.
But F Raikou,
You could do Spadef Raikou. Scyther is
PSC time.
it's a really cool choice here, I think, because of that. It does provide that ground immunity, which I mean, he's gonna want for sure with Raikou. But just having
Scyther.
DP and the speed that it has, it can really like get off Doug traps pretty easy, I think. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what he comes up with. And Meditite is it's a little scary. I mean, if you get the predict
Scariest one
wrong,
pointer you're going to fight.
yeah, like it's one of the scariest one pointers for sure. Because like say in my case, it's not out of the question for him to just click Shadow Ball instead of Fake Out turn one, knowing I have a Missy, and then my Missy would just drop, you know? But then a Fake Out's gonna do like a clean like 20% to something if I stay in. So
Maybe
it's
even
tough.
more.
Yeah, and even more depending on what I have out there.
Like the choice band boosted from an attack stat that's higher than Gyarados after its ability, so like pending.
Yeah.
Like say Houndoom's probably taking like upwards of
Oh,
I don't
it's
know how
taking a
much,
lot.
but
It's
it
probably
probably
taking
took
like
like 20
30, 40
something,
at least.
even 30 something.
Yeah. I think the other guy's last team, well, it's similar to mine. I think I actually match into him well because of Houndoom, but I think he matches pretty well into like the same people I'm gonna match well into. And then he also has Armaldo, which I think Armaldo's just a really sneaky good pick there, I think. Um, because it kind of punishes like at least Claydol really hard, and Celebi, of course.
Yeah, which is
Um,
very good because they have quite a few things that are kind of looking to get rid of them. Like say, well, for example, Haunter would like Celebi to be punished, Slowking as well, Claydol. Maybe even Egg kind of, but not really.
yeah,
Flax won't like a bold Celebi clicking Leech Seed.
very true. Also because he has Arena Trap, it's just something to watch out for. There's four players with Arena Trap, right? I have Trapinch, she has Trapinch, and then Bull has Doug, and Dom has
Someone
Diglett,
else has
right?
Diglett. Yeah, Dom has Diglett, I
Or
think.
no, Kaif has Diglett.
Cafe, yeah. Speaking of Cafe, their team is I think their team is a team to watch out for just for the fact of like well, okay. How many teams in this like draft league do you think could properly handle special offense? Like their specifically special offense. With the Raikou and the CM pass.
Not a lot,
Depends.
honestly. Maybe the person, what was it? The
Ferguson
team with
probably
the
could.
team with
Ferguson probably could
Celebi.
because they have Kingdra and Blissey on the same team.
Yeah, them and the person with Celebi Bliss probably.
I guess, yeah. But like
Um,
my team isn't doesn't match up particularly well into like I don't know, it's odd. Because like I have a Tyranitar which does kind of match up pretty well into their team, but at the same time, their team is so threatening to where it might just blow me. I don't know.
I think
It's really something you need to stay on your toes for.
yeah, those just top three mons are really threatening. I think I match into it okay. Like there's definitely ways for me to play around it. But
Mixments, I think, is just a nightmare.
yeah,
Even if you have like a spit up Slowbro.
yeah. I think mixments especially is scary. Um, I think I have ways to play around, but the hypno is kind of what worries me because it's not going to let me set
Yeah,
up to
that's
get past these
yeah.
things.
It's more
Um,
scary than a Mixments. A Mixments with +1 special attack and +1 special defense.
yeah, exactly. And
Doesn't even
like
die to Ice Beams.
a D Knight can pretty much handle that because it's going to eat any Dragon Claw from the Ments and it can OHKO it back with Ice Beam. But like Gengar is obviously going to be really good in a D Knight, and Raikou is going to be pretty good into D Knight, lacking EQ. So it's like
I think you're fine with it because of just Trap Hinch and Lax and Houndoom.
yeah,
You
no,
just
I
have
think
so many things to trap them.
I have ways to play around it for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like they're a scary team, but I think as long as I'm on my toes, I'll
Really
be okay
depends if you
versus
can get
them.
the traps right.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And yeah,
Um,
well, thanks for coming on my channel, man.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we'll definitely like run friendlies or something on the channel in the future, or maybe even another draft league. Maybe we'll go over our
Nice.
game when we play.
That would be funny.
All right, man. Well, I'll catch
To
you.
everyone watching, hope you have an excellent day. This was the guest speaker UDM out. Bye.
Bye.